Some of us have been clamoring for robot umpires. They're coming, at least to spring training, including for the Dodger games. Let's dig into it live on Locked On Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Dodger fans, this is Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks to our everydayers for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning, and thanks to those of you who are with us live here on Tuesday evening. Remember, this show is free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers, so please subscribe wherever you're watching or listening right now. If this is your first time with us, my name is Jeff Snider. My normal co-host is Vince Samperia, although I have my abnormal co-host with me today. It's my buddy Clint Pasillas. Vince and Clint and I are all lifelong Dodger fans, just like most of you. We've also all spent time covering the Dodgers in the press box and the locker room, so we bring you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue every weekday morning. And when it's me and Clint, our hats are forward. That's how you know this is Locked On Dodgers, not all Dodgers with Clint Pasillas. Clint, thank you for joining me again today.
Yeah, you know how it goes over here, Jeff. It's always fun to talk Dodger baseball with you, and that's a deep cut for people that have been watching us as I've joined you throughout the offseason and now into spring training.
Yeah, sometime I'll be on Dodgers territory and we'll wear our hats sideways or something. But
hey, you missed a good chance a couple weeks ago, but it was for the right reasons.
It's true, yeah. Clint invited me. Alana was unavailable, and he wanted me to help him host that show. And unfortunately, my wife had surgery that day, so I passed. I chose my wife over Clint, and I'll do it again. But you mentioned spring training. Spring training is here, and one of the things that had kind of slipped my mind about spring training was that they had announced a while back that there would be some robot umpires in spring training this year, specifically the challenge system, where every pitch is tracked by it's not actual robots, in case any of you are have robotophobia. It's more a computer than a robot, but or as they would say back in the 50s, a robot. But the robot umps are coming to do the challenge system, and we found out via Bill Plunkett in a tweet on Tuesday evening. He said the Dodgers Glendale Stadium, not sure why he called that instead of Camelback Ranch, but it is in Glendale, so technically right. The Dodgers Glendale Stadium is one of 5 Arizona ballparks that is equipped to test out automated ball strike system this spring. That's what Major League Baseball technically calls it, the ABS system. There are only 10 spring training stadiums in Arizona for the 15 teams, and so basically half of the stadiums are going to have this technology, which means roughly half of the games will have the challenge system in place. Every game that the technology is there, they're going to have the challenge system in place. I'm interested to see how it goes, Clint.
Yeah, we've wanted this kind of system for a little while. We know it's been in play in the minor leagues for the last few seasons, and every time I see it, I'm like, that's cool. I love the idea of the challenge. Of course, hitters get to kind of tap their helmets if that's still going to be the play and say, hey, I want to review that ball strike call. I forget how pitchers or catchers get to do it, or the dugout gets to do it for the pitcher side of things. But in the spirit of getting the call right and knowing that you can't just challenge every play, you get a finite amount of them. I love this. I think this is great. And I think for as much guff as we have given Major League Baseball over the last decade or so, got to credit them. The last handful of changes have worked out well, and I'm hopeful that this works out well as well.
As long as you're not counting the runner on second base and extra innings among that. That's the one that I still, although even that, I do think it makes the game more exciting if you don't care who wins. When your team is involved, I think it's terrible, and which explains why, Major League Baseball and the media like it, because by definition, they have to be neutral. Us baseball fans, the people who actually consume baseball, don't like it when it's our team. But the challenge system for me, I think it's a good step. I think the ability to get calls right is better than just missing calls and having no recourse. I still am pretty firmly in the camp of, if we have the technology to get all the calls right, why don't we just get all the calls right? rather than making somebody tap their head when they think the guy messed up. It's like, for me, I watch baseball to watch baseball. I don't need a new game introduced. I actually don't like the challenge system on instant replay either. I think if you just put a fifth umpire up in the media box and he's watching the game, most of the time it's pretty clear that, hey, we might have missed that call. Umpire in the booth just pushes a button and the crew chief just holds his hands up for a second while the guy quick runs it back. Oh, we missed that call. Radio dad, hey, you missed that call. He's actually safe. Oh, he's actually safe. Boom. Why not just get the calls right? And it's even easier with the balls and strikes. Like if the technology is there that they're calling it, then just go ahead and use that technology and get the calls right. But like I said, it is a step in the right direction, and so I'm interested to see. And I am open to the possibility that the challenge system might grow on me. I don't know. We'll see.
Does that conclude Old Man Yells at Cloud, your segment right there? The game ain't right no more. It's not like it used to be.
Although I'm kind of the opposite. I want them to actually bring in more technology. So it's like,
well, I mean,
old man doesn't seem like a young man, more like maybe like give me all the technology and get everything right.
Well, I don't pay attention to the show. Come on now. I understand wanting the human element still to be in there. And I think it does make it fun having us, giving us the opportunity to yell at umpires and call them dirty names and, talk about their families or whatever. Maybe not that one. Guys, don't do that one. So the human element is important until it affects your team.
Who I get my human element from, though? The baseball players.
No, they're all robots that are there just for entertainment.
Oh, yeah,
or something like that.
The human element of the baseball players, the pitcher versus the batter, and all that. That's all the human element I need. I don't need human element and rules enforcement. You
know what I like though with the challenge system and replays and all that. It's the gamification of it. I like being able to also sit there and yell at the TV when. You can see the call that is, and then you hear the crowd going, oh, yeah, clearly they got it wrong or clearly they got it right or whatever the hell it turns out to be. Making that, betting with friends in living room or at the ball game, putting $1 on it or something like that, where you'd be like, hey, I bet they overturn it, or I bet it's confirmed, or whatever, the options are. This is me just trying to like make it more fun, make it more exciting. Even so, I like ABS.
So you don't like just baseball? Like,
I mean, you can have your cake and eat it too.
That's like having a cake and then a separate cake. That's not as good. Two cakes. Now that you put it in terms of two cakes, I can see the appeal, I guess.
We are the foremost experts on cakes here in the Dodger Talk space on YouTube.
Absolutely. We are going to jump into some bold predictions, but before we do, one other thing we want to touch on briefly. MLB Network put out Brian Kenny's manager rankings, and I am going to read you this list, Clint. This is apparently in order. This is the top 10 managers in baseball. Number 1, AJ Hinch. Number 2, Bruce Bochy. Number 3, Mike Schilt. Number 4, Alex Cora. Number 5, Kevin Cash. Number 6, Brian Snitker. Number 7, Rob Thompson. Number 8, Dave Martinez. Number 9, Dave Roberts. And number 10, Torey Lovullo. I personally think that top 10 would be more accurate if you literally flipped it. And maybe maybe this was a transcription error. I'm going to give Brian Kenny the benefit of the doubt that maybe somebody just typed it up wrong, because it would make a lot more sense to me to have Torey Lovullo number 1 and Dave Roberts number 2 than to have them 10 and 9 respectively.
That is a really, really good point. It does make a lot more sense. Torey Lovullo is great. I think he got an extension with Arizona, very much deserved. Dave Roberts, of course, the winningest manager in baseball history by percentage points and coming off winning a World Series. But to have AJ Hinch at the top, are these just the people who reply to his text the fastest or something like that? Is it a popularity test or contest for Brian Kenny? Because this is bad. But if it's in the spirit of engagement bait, he did fantastic. This is what you want to see out of it. But if it's supposed to be a true list and you're supposed to respect it and not get the thing quote tweeted with some clown emojis, This is not what you want to see. This is not
That
what
was
you
a
want to see.
hypothetical, right, Clint? Nobody would actually quote tweet that with clown emojis, right?
No.
That's
Don't
at
ever
real
follow me
FRG
at
on
real.
Twitter, folks.
How do I find it? There it is. Almost. Yeah, you get the point.
All right. So we just wanted to just touch on that. You're not going to quote tweet it here, but I hadn't even considered, like, honestly, that I don't think it was a transcription error, but that would make more sense to me than somebody actually believing this list. So
yeah, it's pretty bad.
There you have it.
That's bad.
We are going to come back in a minute. And like I said, we are going to give you some predictions about the Dodgers. We're going to talk about who's not on the team, who might be, who is on the team, who might not be. How many games is this team going to win? We're going to dig into all that. So thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. And please keep it Locked On Dodgers. This episode is brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. I love that you choose no shells or in shell because every situation is different. When I'm sitting at my desk and want a quick snack, the no shells variety is perfect. If I'm watching my son play baseball out in the fresh air, sometimes it's nice to crack my own shells, so the in shell options make me happy. Wonderful Pistachios is a complete protein providing all 9 essential amino acids. These little green wonders pack a protein punch. No shells, Wonderful Pistachios is great for that grab and go ease, and there's not much better than the satisfying crack of opening each shell in the in-shell variety. So whether you're running between meetings or dropping off the kids, Wonderful Pistachios is the snack that works as hard as you do. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Hey, we are back. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning or your last listen the night before every weekday morning if you're one of those who is hanging out live with us here most evenings. Appreciate that. For your second listen, be sure to check out Locked On MLB, hosted by our buddy Paul Francis Sullivan, a.k.a. Sully. Also, be sure to check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles over on YouTube. And since Clint is here, we will go ahead and check out All Dodgers with Clint Pasillas and Dodgers Territory with Clint Pasillas and Alana Rizzo. Those are Clint's 2 shows that, when he's not slumming it over here with me, that's where you can find Clint. And I appreciate how often you let us find you here, Clint. It's always a lot of fun talking Dodgers with you. And you and we are, in addition to cake experts, we are, the foremost authorities on the Dodgers.
Yeah.
And who better to predict what's going to happen with the 2025 Dodgers than us? There's too many things. We can't predict everything, at least not in a 30-minute show. But we did want to touch on a few things. And last year, we saw a lot of surprises, guys who, Jack Flaherty, we didn't know that he was going to end up on the team. Tommy Edman, an LCS MVP who didn't play his first game with the Dodgers till mid-August. Those kind of things. You always have these unexpected guys.
Postseason hero, Brent Honeywell.
Postseason, more of a legend than a hero. Remember the Sandlot distinction. That's fair. I'm giving you legend, not so much hero. But heroes get remembered, legends never die.
Yeah.
So all those things. So and Brent Honeywell, for that matter, he was off the 40-man roster, and then he wasn't even with the organization, and then he was in the organization, and then he was added to the 40-man roster. Then he was DFA'd and dumped off the 40-man roster, and then he was added back to the 40-man roster. Ended up pitching in the World Series. Helping the Yankees wake their bats up a little bit. So first thing I want us to predict, Clint, one player who is not currently, as of this recording, 9:15 p.m. Pacific time on February 18th, not in the Dodgers organization in any way, shape, or form, who will play in the postseason for the Los Angeles Dodgers this year. Give me one.
Oh, God, it's a prediction I hate. It's absolutely a prediction I hate. But just because we're still seeing the headlines, we're still seeing how much the two sides don't want to be together, I'm going with Nolan Arenado just because I could see something happening where maybe there's a Muncy injury or maybe let's say, Ha-Seong Kim doesn't work out, or there's some reason for the Dodgers to finally go do that thing that so many people want, that Nolan Arenado wants more than anything. He wants to be a Dodger. Maybe they find a way to trade for him at the trade deadline. And I'm not saying I like it, I buy into it. It's a prediction, and predictions are 83% of the time they're wrong. I decided. But that's what I'm going with. That's my name.
I laughed for two reasons. One, because my bold prediction before last season was that Nolan Arenado would end up on the Dodgers last year because of a Max Muncy injury. And then Max Muncy did get hurt, but the Dodgers didn't end up pulling the trigger on Arenado. The other reason I was laughing is because you were just talking about Brian Kenny and engagement bait, and then you go ahead and throw out the Nolan Arenado to the Dodgers.
Just because, it's been out there. This headline.
Somebody tweet that out right now. Clint Pasillas says he really wants Nolan Arenado on the Dodgers, and it's going to happen.
Oh,
God. If that's not on Twitter.
No. It's Dodgers. Dodgers blogger demands Nolan Arenado be traded. It depends on which outlet you're going with, like how bad the clickbait is. Hey, you know what? This might steal from you for a second, but I like this comment from 479. ISIS, I guess, or is I'm going with bringing up Ahmed Rosario. Can we get an Ahmed Rosario 3 years in a row?
3 years in a row. I like that. That's not stepping on mine, so it's okay. Before I tell you my prediction, I am going to just pop this comment up on the screen. Richard Flores says, Jeff never reads my comments because they're not interesting enough. I agree, Richard. Thank you for being here. My prediction, maybe, and I've got a few that came to my mind when I was thinking about this, but maybe ours could happen in the same trade. Because when you think about there's always injuries to pitchers. And so you start thinking about, I think the Dodgers have enough starting pitching depth that even with injuries, of course, I thought that last year, but Ryan Helsley, he's going into this last year in a contract with the Cardinals. He's going to be trade bait. We know Andrew Friedman doesn't want to trade for a big superstar at the trade deadline, but maybe the price is driven down if they are bringing on Arenado's contract too, so maybe it's something because the price is the reason that Friedman doesn't like to make trades at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
And so, taking on Arenado's contract could be a way of mitigating that a little bit. So Ryan Helsley, obviously very, very good. And if the Dodgers did have one or two of their 7 high leverage guys get hurt, maybe they do pull the trigger on a Helsley trade,
Yeah, hell, they're starting the season with 2 guys already on the shelf with Evan Phillips and Michael Kopech. We're already losing talent right off the bat. So if anybody's going to be available, any high leverage arm is going to be available, it's likely somebody like Ryan Helsley, who apparently the Cardinals just don't have money anymore. I don't really understand why they're trying so hard to cut payroll, but I don't hate it. I hate it a lot less than my Nolan Arenado idea. I'll say that one.
The other 2 that I considered are guys like either Donovan Solano or Luis Rengifo, also guys who are going into last year under contract and can play multiple positions, put the bat on the ball pretty well, kind of a under the radar. So, if it was a Max Muncy injury that they weren't expecting to keep them out or something, there's something like that. But those guys, I think, would be less likely to actually make an impact in the postseason, which is kind of the spirit of this question.
So we have one I also like, OCJ in the chat. Does this pass the sniff test for you? It says Vlad Jr. in a blockbuster trade at the deadline.
If Freddie Freeman didn't exist, sure. But,
do you think there's a world where Vlad Jr. figures out third base?
I don't know that it's so much about figuring out as, losing 50 pounds, and I think I'm allowed to say that as a fellow fatty, but and obviously, don't get me wrong, Vlad Guerrero is in immensely better shape than I am. Much better athlete than me.
Breaking. Somebody get that headline out there, please.
Yeah. But I don't think Vlad Guerrero can play third base. I think, Jim Thome played third base for 5 years in the big leagues before they finally moved him to first base. Vlad Guerrero lasted 1 season as a third baseman before they said, well, this ain't going to work. Let's move him to first base. And nobody would have considered moving Jim Thome back to third base later in his career. I just don't see that happening unless Freddie Freeman, if the injury happened to Freddie Freeman instead of to Max Muncy, then it's a possibility.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. So next question, which is similar, player that's currently in the organization but not on the 40-man roster, who will play and make an impact in the postseason.
In the
And
postseason.
asterisk, not counting Roki Sasaki because he's not a 40-man roster, but for all intents and purposes, he's an expected one. Who's somebody who's in the org but not on the 40-man roster, who's going to make an impact in October.
This is lazy, and Tim G already saying it in the chat. You got to go Dalton Rushing. This has to be the year of Dalton Rushing as a big leaguer. Maybe there's an injury to Will Smith. We keep going the injury route because obviously there's not room for players otherwise. But if there's an injury to Will Smith, or if there's an injury to also a Freddie Freeman type or Austin Barnes, Dalton Rushing is going to get that first call. And if he finds his way to, if he's a bat, if his bat plays, I think they find a way to keep him in the big leagues. And if he's in the big leagues, he's going to be on that postseason roster. So that's my very, very lazy reply there, or response.
And not lazy, just easy,
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Sometimes things are easy for a reason because they're right. And along those lines, I think Jackson Ferris has a decent chance to make an impact. If, I think it's more likely than them trading for Ryan Helsley. If a spot opens up, in the bullpen or the rotation, Jackson Ferris, as much as he moved up last year and as well as he pitched, he's a possibility, and could even be, there's probably a couple guys in the minors whose names we've heard, but not a lot, like Edgardo Henriquez was a year ago at this time, who were throwing 102 miles an hour and might just come out of nowhere this year. But Jackson Ferris would be coming out of less nowhere. And so I'd lean towards him.
Another good name in the chat as well, Alex Freeland, because he is a middle infielder, he's a shortstop by trade, and he's getting older. The Dodgers need somebody, or if there's, we go to the injuries again. If Miguel Rojas is hurt, or Hassan Kim doesn't work out in his first season, or has some things to still iron out in his game, or let's say Chris Taylor somehow gets, sent off in a rocket ship to the moon. Alex Freeland, come on down. That's a guy the team really would love to give an opportunity to, I think. And from what we hear from all of our prospect expert friends and seeing a lot of the lists this offseason.
Which reminds me that it's funny that we did talk about Vlad Guerrero and not talk about the actual realistic possibility for the Blue Jays, which would be Bo Bichette. Who's also in his last year under contract, and pretty easy to bring him in and shift Mookie back to second base if there's a need in the middle infield. All right, we've got a couple more predictions to make, but first we got another ad to read. So we're going to come back and we're going to blow your socks off with our predictions about how many wins the Dodgers are going to have in 2025. So thank you again for making us your first listen, and please keep it locked on Dodgers. This episode is brought to you by Select Quote. In sports, having a winning strategy is everything. It's how the best teams make it to the Super Bowl, the World Series, and the Olympics. The same goes for life. Having a strategy like life insurance from Select Quote can protect your financial legacy and keep your family's future secure. Select Quote makes it easy to find the perfect life insurance policy. As one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, they've helped over 2 million customers find $700 billion in coverage since 1985. What sets Select Quote apart is their personal touch. Unlike other brokers that offer one-size-fits-all policies, their licensed agents tailor coverage to fit your unique needs. If you're in good health, you might even qualify for same-day coverage of up to $5 million, no medical exam required. And it's more affordable than you'd think. You can get up to $1 million in coverage for as little as $20 a month. So get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/lockedon. Go to selectquote.com/lockedon today to get started. That's selectquote.com/lockedon. Select Quote. They shop, you save. Hey, we are back. Thank you again for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. Thanks for being an everydayer. If you're not, it's easy to become one. Just watch or listen every weekday morning. And you can go beyond the podcast and become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. Jumping right back in to our predictions, Clint. We mentioned the Dodgers have a lot of depth on their pitching staff. They have a lot of options at starting pitcher. Vince and I were talking yesterday about how even just with who's healthy right now, they've got at least 7 and maybe 9 or 10 candidates for their 5-man rotation and 4 of them are kind of set in stone. So that you got somewhere between 3 and 5 people battling for that last spot. A ton of people are going to get starts for the Dodgers this year. There's a lot of guys who maybe will have breaks either because of injuries or because of quote unquote injuries. There's going to be a lot of guys starting for the Dodgers here. So the question is, Clint, which Dodgers pitcher will lead the team in innings pitched in 2025? I believe in 2024 it was Gavin Stone, right?
Yeah, it was Stoner, right?
And
as we both say the same thing, and then we both look it up. This is professional stuff. Yeah, this is a TV worth watching, right?
Gavin Stone, 140 and a third innings pitched. Tyler Glasnow was just less than 6 or just over 6 innings behind him. And I believe the year before that, it was actually Clayton Kershaw. Yeah, Kershaw with 131. So Dodgers haven't had anybody qualify for the ERA title the last 2 years. So Clint, who will lead the Dodgers in innings pitched in 2025?
I'm going to go with a fella they paid a lot of money to this offseason, a fella by the name of Blake Snell, who wants to be that guy. He needs to be that innings eater guy this season. And I'm going to add to that. I'm going to drop an innings total prediction, regular season. I wrote it down here. 181.2. He's going to go 181 innings and 2/3 thrown in there for good measure. He wants to be a dude who starts every 5th day, giving the other pitchers that need to be on a 6-man or a 6-day rotation, that 5 days off, giving them that opportunity to get those days off. I love seeing Blake Snell be that guy, being in a place also where he really, really wants to be in Dodger blue. So that's my answer right there. Do you have thoughts on that? And who's your guy?
I think that's a pretty good answer. And that range, Blake Snell has only qualified for the ERA title twice in his career. Both of those times, actually probably 3 times, like 2020, he probably did. But he's only pitched more than 130 innings in a season twice in his career. Both of those times, he was right near that number that you mentioned. 2018, 180 and 2/3. And then 2023, 180 even. The other thing those 2 seasons have in common, he won the Cy Young Award both of those years. When Blake Snell pitches a full season, he wins the Cy Young Award. # math, # science, # any STEM category you want to throw out there. And so I think that is a very, very solid guess. I think one guy who is going to push him on that is going to be Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Because Yamamoto, I think Snell will get more starts than Yamamoto will. I think Yamamoto steps up this year. And I think in his 27 starts, I think he's going to stay healthy. I think he's going to make 27 starts. And I think he's going to pitch about 185 innings this year. And maybe steal that Cy Young Award from Blake Snell. I think Yoshinobu Yamamoto is going to lead the Dodgers in innings pitched this year.
I'll throw this question for you then. Is 27 starts, is that enough? In a non-Kershaw 2014 year or whatever it was, is 27 starts enough to get Cy Young Award votes from a very, very odd award voting base of writers and all that? Do you think that's enough?
I think so. Let me see. So 180, yeah. So he'd have to average close to 7 innings a start. I think it's more about the innings pitched than the number of starts. And we saw, like you said, in 2014 with Clayton Kershaw, he didn't just win the Cy Young Award, he won the MVP despite having fewer than 200 innings pitched. I think the baseball world has changed enough. I think once you qualify for the ERA title, it's all fair game at that point. And he might have to be, if somebody goes out there and throws 220 innings, he might have to be a lot better than them. Like when I said, I got some flack a couple years ago when I said Sandy Alcantara deserved the Cy Young Award over Julio Urias because of the massive difference in how many innings he pitched. I think Julio pitched better, but not nearly as much. And so I think that Alcantara provided more value to his team. I think it would be the same kind of thing. If there is some big inning guy who pitched well for a lot of innings, Yamamoto would have to be like elite to beat him out. But the
most important thing is wins, though. Everybody knows pitching wins matter.
Absolutely. I don't think it's a given that there will be a big innings guy in the National League. I think the world has changed a lot. So, all right, that brings us to our last question, Clint. We've got about 2.5 minutes to talk about this. So luckily it's a short one because the question is, what will the Dodgers regular season record be in 2025? Go.
So I'm not as bold as the last comment that just popped up from Argenis, however you say it, 162-0. I'm not that bold because I understand the National League West is very good along with other teams, and you lose, as Tommy Lasorda said, you lose 50 games at the bare minimum. I did this a couple weeks ago on my channel, and I'm sticking with the number. I wrote it down so I could call myself out if I'm close. 109. I got 109 wins in the regular season.
Why so pessimistic?
National League West, very good.
I think they tie the record. I think they were 116 and 46 this year. Which and that'll be because they do let their foot off the gas a little bit after they clinch in July, or whenever it is. But yeah, I think this Dodgers team is it's a behemoth, it's unstoppable, and and then I really think we're seeing like an 11-1 postseason. I think they're just going to steamroll starting in March and going all the way till beginning in November, end of October.
No respect for Torey Lovello's Arizona Diamondbacks, huh?
He's only the 10th best manager in baseball, man.
Manager.
Yeah.
Hey, either way, it feels like if we're right, Dodgers are going to be doing pretty good things here in 2025.
And it's going to be fun. And that's the thing I'm most looking forward to. And I talk about this a lot, that I think it's important to enjoy the regular season. You can start stressing, and maybe that'll be easier this year because they did just win the World Series. It was a full season. Nobody can, take it away from us. All they can do is say, oh, you buy championships. Oh, excuse me. We pay salaries to our players just like every other team. We're just better at it than you. Herder.
It's a very good impression.
And so maybe we'll be able to enjoy this regular season a little bit more and then let the stress of October come when October comes. That is my challenge to all of you, all of us. Try to enjoy the 6 months because baseball is awesome. Baseball is so much fun to watch. And when you have a team that has these kind of superstars, just go out there trying to be their best, it's even more fun. I love it. And I'm looking forward to it.
I mean, when you look at 5 of the dudes that are going to be running out there in the presumed 6-man rotation, Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, and Roki Sasaki, that's an insane 5. And then you also throw in, for me, a lock 2022 All-Star Tony Gonsolin. You can't take a day off when you're watching this team. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I think that'll do it for us. You got anything else before we wrap this up, Clint?
Absolutely not. I'm a tired boy, but I always love talking Dodger baseball with you, my friend. And I'm looking forward to, hey, let's actually connect this time out at spring training because we were bad at it when you're over here in my neck of the woods around FanFest.
Yeah, we tried, but didn't do it. But we will be in Arizona at the same time. So we'll definitely figure out a way to meet up. Thank you again for hopping in with me, Clint. All of you, if you're not following Clint, you really should be. Check out All Dodgers with Clint Pasillas. Check out Dodgers Territory with Clint and Alana Rizzo. All that good stuff. Be sure to, and I'm not going to tell you to subscribe to Clint's channel because he's ahead of me. So, hey, all of you who are here just for Clint, subscribe to Locked On Dodgers, baby. But either way, thank you for that. Also, be sure to go beyond the podcast, become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/Locked On Dodgers. Be sure to check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles, the 2 24/7 streaming channels on YouTube from the Locked On Podcast Network. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Clint is on Twitter at RealFRG. Vince is on Twitter at VinceSense91. I'm on Twitter at Snydog. All of our DMs are open there. You can also email us, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or send us a voicemail or a text message to 323-863-LOCK5625. We are here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car or sit on your couch, tell your smart device to play podcast Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. We will talk to you tomorrow.
Bye.